I wasn't talking about him needing to change completely and sit back. I'm talking about the fact that he leaves Erling Haaland for the entire game when he wasn't good, and he takes off Jeremy Doku as opposed to when Kevin De Bruyne comes in. I'm just saying that he sometimes has to look at this plan and think maybe there's a plan B here. Because my bigger focus, honestly, is on Erling Haaland. When you have somebody like that there and it's not helping the cause, you have to do something different. And yeah, okay, fair enough. Pep Guardiola's an auteur. And come on, I'm the one that says that when he retires, he's going to be the greatest manager the game has ever seen. I'm just saying that right now, the proof is in the pudding. One win in the last 13 matches. Injuries all over the place. You have to do something different. Why don't you take off Erling Haaland and perhaps be a bit more mobile up top so Everton get a little bit more disconcerted when they're going forward? Kind of like what Liverpool did when they put Luis Diaz up front against Tottenham. Like, I'm just saying that I'm not saying he has to completely change his philosophy. I just think that sometimes he has to look at what he has on the pitch and say, okay, what do I always pick and it's actually not working continuously? And in this situation, for me, it's Erling Haaland. So he has to change something. I mean, the proof is in the pudding, guys. One win in 13 matches. This is no longer a crisis. It's an endemic. It has to be fixed.
Yeah, it's just when we talk about, oh, well, it's Haaland. It's a name brand, okay? Erling Haaland leading the lines. He'll get goals. Well, he won't if he's not more involved. He won't if there's no creativity. Janusz, we've seen it in many sports, right? We saw it in golf. That was the main one with Tiger Woods, okay? The name is there, but has Manchester City lost its luster? Have they not got that fear factor for opposition teams? Because I know we've just spoken a lot about Manchester City. Everton deserve a lot of credit today for what they did. And Janusz, is that because Manchester City this season doesn't have the fear factor that they have had in previous years?
They don't have it at the moment. But see, for them, they have the ability to change that within a game or two or three. That's the beauty of it. Not many
When's
teams
that going to start?
Well,
at this point, you need to wait for 13.
well, because it's not about the ability of the individual players. They've proven it. They've shown it that they have it. They haven't lost it, right? I mean, even if you think that they lost a step, but what does that mean? There's still enough players that can do it, right? They just lost that little bit of a hunger and if you want to call it motivation, but you can change that. Right. I mean, there's going to be a point you watch, and that's a job of Pep Guardiola, obviously. But I think it's in the messaging more than it is in the quality and ability of these players. And I think, as I've said before about Erling Haaland, we always knew he's one-dimensional. That's never going to change. It was no different when he was at Dortmund. It's but if he gets the service, he's deadly. That's obvious. So you can change that. And I mentioned what's happening in the wide areas. That part, I don't understand why he continuously pushes those players inside. I'm not saying that if they stay wide, the whole game would have changed, but I would have liked that, because you're playing in the hands of Sean Dyche, right? The more people in front of the goal, the more difficult it's going to be for Manchester City to get through, even though they did. That goal was kind of what Manchester City needs more of, right? Well, we remember that through ball when Bernardo Silva gets there. So I think usually when you have a situation like that with big clubs, you're talking about a massive rebuild. I don't believe that that's needed here. It's just that extra energy, that remotivation. It's sort of a heart to heart when you say, okay, boys, I'm not going to lie to you. We all know you're not stupid. We all know that the title is gone. But there are other goals because you have that goal again. Imagine before the season, if you made the right moves or not. You won 4 straight. What is that? They only think of one thing, of winning that title. Nothing else matters. They're not going to be satisfied with anything else. That or maybe Champions League or, a domestic cup. I doubt it. If it's there to be taken, they'll take it, I suppose. So I do believe that Manchester City, Mark, can change that within a game or two to get back that mentality.
And that's the problem. It might be too late. And it might be, as was reported in some of the papers this morning, Pep Guardiola taking the 2 years that he seems to have left at Manchester City with a contract extension to put in place something that's ready to go as a brand new kind of Manchester City in a couple of years' time. We saw it today. There were a few players left out through injury and various other things. But right now, it just seems to be for Manchester City, next up, Leicester, then West Ham, and see if they can find a way to get 3 points, which is very different. I want to end deservedly so on Everton, LME, and I want to take you back to August. They went to Spurs, right? They were absolutely grim. They lost 4-0 on the back of a 3-0 thumping at home to Brighton. They then played Bournemouth at home and they lost by 3-2. So we've got a 3-goal conceded, a 4-goal conceded, a 3-goal conceded. Now, they hardly look like they're conceding too many chances at all. They don't concede many goals. They've got a brilliant concession rate compared with the rest of the teams in the league. So what's changed for Everton, and defensively especially?
I think they're more focused at the back. I think at the very beginning of the season, they were a little bit inconsistent in terms of their decision making. But I think what Sean Dyche has done, especially as the team has understood each other better after the preseason, they have now become a little bit more compact. And I think they have a blueprint on how to play, relying a lot on the counter, but also at the same time, there's talent there. Tarkowski, I think is we've always known how much of a leader he is. He can sometimes be a little bit lackadaisical in his tackling, but he's very strong and he's a good leader at the back. And we know that Branthwaite's a great talent. And Jordan Pickford, to be honest with you, this is why he's England's number one. Like there's moments when he's really needed, both as a goalkeeper and both as a voice. And then when you have counter-attacking prowess, it can work, and it worked today. And to your point, they are very strong defensively. They just don't score enough goals. So they just have to try and do that in order to avoid relegation and hopefully push up. But, draws against Arsenal, draws against Chelsea, a draw against Man City is nothing to laugh about. It deserves a lot of respect.
And Dye scored a really good goal for Everton, Janusz. But do they need to sign a striker in the January transfer window? Because love him to bits, Dominic Calvert-Lewin leaves everything out there, but he's not the answer right now.
Yeah, maybe. New ownership group, right? There's a big question about, what directions they wanted to take. Is it with Sean Dyche? Is it, without? Look, we're talking about two teams here. What's different, you've asked, with Everton? Well, they rediscovered their identity, which is Sean Dyche's identity, not Everton's necessarily, right? Just like Pep is looking to rediscover his identity, which is the attacking one. Defensive one is important. We know that at times they were the best in the league when they got Ruben Dias because they were leaking goals. So that's the difference here. And it's okay for Everton to play that way, because what happened in the last 3 or 4 years, right? Constantly fighting relegation, this massive club who's moving into this beautiful, beautiful stadium. And that stadium alone probably is going to put on pressure on Sean Dyche, Everton, or whoever else is going to be in charge, right? Because you want to make sure that you're fighting for, the top 5, 6 and not trying to or not being relegated. So that's what Sean Dyche does. We all knew it. We were all surprised in the beginning of the season, because we still go back and think of Sean Dyche at Burnley and what he can do. So no surprises here, and LME rightfully so. Tons of credit, because you look at the last 3 games, top opposition, 2 clean sheet in that, and just 1 conceded here. And as you said, a better team would have won here. A better team than Everton would have gotten all 3 points. And you've pointed out that Everton perhaps should have done it themselves.
A super point for Everton, and congratulations to them. It might have been more, but they would have taken that before the game. For Manchester City, 10 points behind Liverpool, having played 2 games more. And how to sum up their season so far? How about this? They're behind Bournemouth on goal difference, and they've played a game more. Bye for now.